What's up, everyone? It's Brian here from the Exact IT Solutions YouTube channel, where we bring you the latest news on cybersecurity and what the heck is going on out there in the world. But before we get into today's content, which is the DC Police Department confirming a ransomware attack on their police department, remember, for this content, we don't charge a fee. It's all for free. The only thing we ask is if you like anything, if you're enlightened, if you learn anything, entertained, what have you, please share out our video. Hit the like button down below. It really helps us out with Google and their algorithm and other people finding this information just like you did. So without further ado, let's jump into this ransomware attack against the DC Police Department. All right, so DC Police confirmed cyber attack after ransomware gang leaks data. So the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. has confirmed that they suffered a cyber attack after the Babuk ransomware gang leaked screenshots of stolen data. The Metropolitan Police Department, also known as DC Police, is the primary law enforcement agency for Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Capitol. The statement to Bleeping Computer, the D.C. Police stated that they are aware of a breached server and that the FBI is investigating the matter. The statement reads, "We are aware of an unauthorized access on our server. While we determine the full impact and continue to review activity, we have engaged the FBI to fully investigate this matter." Statement comes after Babuk Locker gang said they had compromised DC police networks and stolen 250 gigs of unencrypted files. As part of the leak, the ransomware gang posted screenshots of various folders that they allegedly stole during the attack. The folder names appear to contain a lot of files related to operations, disciplinary records, and files related to gang members and crews operating in DC. The ransomware gang warned that the data leak page at the MPD has 3 days to contact them, or the threat actors will start contacting gangs to warn them of police informants. So this is interesting. They went a little bit deeper here than what a lot of ransomware attacks do. They actually have gone through, and as I mentioned in other videos, gone through and looked at the actual information that they have to figure out what angles they could use to create fear when they're trying to extort these victims. I've talked about this with previous ransomware attacks where things like a CEO's medical records, or somebody or a hospital or a billing company, a medical billing company, being hacked and then getting the patient information and then going to the patients and extorting them based on the data that they find. And this is kind of similar. They're looking at, the gangs in DC and who could be an informant for the police. And now they're going to turn around and take that information and potentially give it to other gangs or other gang members, and reveal the sources of who's actually talking to the police and working with the police. For a lot of reasons, you don't want that getting out and you don't want that happening. And this is huge. There's also internal files. And another interesting thing is they specifically pointed out in one of the files, which based on the title is related to arrest after the January 6th protests that stormed the Capitol building. So they were, Bleeping Computer reported about Babuk Locker ransomware in January, when they began leaking data into hacker forums. They've slowly increased their activity as they recruit hackers and more advanced persistent threat hackers to work with them. So the idea here is that they work with people who are good at getting in the networks. They don't do it themselves, and then they work together to almost profit share on the ransomware. So once you get access to somebody's network, you can contact Babuk and they will help you, or they will deploy the ransomware on the network that you have access to. And that's really how it works. This group made news when Microsoft discovered that their decryptor contains severe bugs that could destroy files while they were being decrypted. So that was a bug in their ransomware software. When files were being decrypted, they could corrupt them, which is not good, because once they're corrupted, they really can't be opened. So that's it. DC police under attack by the Babuk ransomware group, and this is April 26, 2021. And the whole department is under attack right now, and they have to be dealing with the ransom. So just to kind of update everybody, the ransomware gang REvil, who has infected Quanta, a Taiwanese-based original design manufacturer. Basically, they make the shells and the cases for Apple Watches, MacBooks, MacBook Pros. They were hit with ransomware, and REvil is now trying to extort more money or extort Apple, because they know it's a high-profile victim here, especially since they do business with Apple, and now they have these plans that are for the new Apple models that they want to basically release to the public. Interesting thing that happened in the last couple of days here is that the REvil group has taken everything that they've posted on their hacking forum. They've taken that and they've removed it. So they were leaking information about this particular ransomware, about what they had with Apple, and they removed it all. It's being reported that it was removed because that Quanta reopened the dialogue with the REvil group, and because they reopened a dialogue, REvil decided to take things down, and they're also going to give them a discount from 50 million to 20 million. And the idea here is that they have till May 7th. It reduces the amount from 50 million to 20 million. And they're basically saying, because they started a dialogue with us, you can count on a good discount. So basically what we know at this point is that they will begin to publish drawings for the new iPad and the new Apple logos if they don't receive a response from Quanta. And it says, "Dear Quanta, if in the near future we do not receive answers from you, we will begin to publish drawings for the new iPad and new Apple logos in subsequent publications. All personal data of your employees and blueprints of more and more new companies will be posted. A new Monero wallet has already been created in this chat. You can enter a token and create a private chat accessible only to you. It is unknown if Quanta is communicating with REvil within another chat or if negotiations have stalled. But if REvil once again begins leaking data, we will know whether Quanta paid the ransom or not." So that's basically the next thing. If REvil starts leaking data, then we know Quanta has not paid the ransom. If they kind of go away, and we can kind of assume that Quanta has ponied up some money and has paid the ransom. So last thing I'm going to talk about today is this ransomware extortion demands are growing, and so is the downtime caused by attacks. And I cover this and talk about this all the time on this channel. And the reality of it is, guys, is that the average ransom payment paid by victims of ransomware attacks has risen as cybercriminals exploit vulnerabilities in software and RDP services as common means of infiltrating networks. Phishing attacks are also right up there with how they're getting. This is busted in the front door, and they're getting in the back door using things like phishingware attacks. But this is no secret. I cover this on this channel all the time, that they are targeting companies. They're not getting in and just deploying ransomware and locking files and asking for an amount. They're getting in there. They're doing their research. They're doing their due diligence to figure out what network they have access to, what they can steal, what they can exploit. And then once they know what they have, then they're coming up with a dollar figure. The reality of it is that they're breaking into bigger and bigger companies, so they're asking for more and more money. And like, at the end of the day, if you're doing, $10 million a year in revenue, you can probably look towards a close to $1 million request from a hacking group. If you do 100, it's going to be 10 million. So, they look at your total revenue and how much market or how much revenue your company does, and that's what determines what they ask for. Now, negotiations can go many ways, but once you initially get that number, that's usually the highest number they initially ask for. But remember, as I talk about on this channel too, if you pay the ransom and as your files are being unencrypted, it's not uncommon that we hear that these hackers turn around and ask for more money in the middle of the decryption process. And yeah, it's usually not as much. So, if you paid, 100,000 to get your files back, they might ask for another 20,000 on top of it just to get the rest of it back. Very, very common activity that we see all the time. But this article done by ZDNet does a nice job. I'll give a shout out to Danny Palmer, who does a great job writing articles around this stuff. Goes into detail. I'll link it in the description below so you can read it yourself. But it basically, the amount of time it's taking for companies to get back up and running is now going up to 23 days. So it's gone from 21 days to 23 days. And that's because we just understand what's involved with a ransomware attack and what's the best way to get back up and running. And it's taking longer. Plus, if you have cyber insurance, the cyber insurance company needs to get involved in the beginning, at the early stages, and they're going to be the ones who kind of, wave the green flag on when you can start recovering your data and when you can start getting back to business. So in a sense, with cyber insurance, you're at the mercy of the insurance company, as to when you can get back up and running. You just can't start getting things going again before the insurance company does their job. And if you have cyber insurance, that's just the reality we live in. So, if you get hit with ransomware and you're a business owner or you're an executive and you're watching this channel, you're going to be around 30 days, a month of downtime if you get hit with ransomware. And that's the reality. So as quickly as you think you want to get back up, there's the reality, and there's fantasy, and there's reality. And the reality is it's going to be more like a month than it's going to be like a week or a few days. And remember, there's a lot of things that happen before the attack and a lot of things that happen after the attack. And both sides of that boom cost money. And whether you're on the left side of the boom or the right side of the boom, it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to deal with this stuff at some point. Some of these things can be dealt with after the fact. Some of these things need to be dealt with before the fact. And some of these things cost infinitely less on the left side of the boom than they do on the right side of the boom. So when the boom happens and your whole company gets hit with ransomware and everything just blows up, understand, if you didn't invest before, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more after. So that's it for me today, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's coverage. Let's hope for the best for the people out in D.C. Hopefully they get help from the FBI and they can recover quickly. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, comments, drop them down below. Hit like on our channel. It helps us out. And plus, remember, if I educated you in any way, entertained you, made you think, change your perspective, hit that like button, and maybe you'll consider subscribing to this channel. So we'll see you all very soon, folks. Have a good one. Take care.